Hello and welcome to the second episode of Obsidian Talks. My name is Obsidian, your host, and I am joined here once again by my special guest Avram. Say hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here again to do episode 2 of the series. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, so welcome back. Today we'll be doing Sleep Deprived Anime once again, which is the segment where I basically force my friends into watching anime series they haven't watched before. And we start around 8 p.m. and we binge from then on instead of sleeping. Today our subject will be Rascal Does Not Dream of a Bunny Girl Senpai. So of course there's going to be spoilers. We'll be watching season 1 and the movie, and for the novel readers that's going to be the first 7 volumes. So, tell me what you know about this series before we start.
I'm going to this pretty blind, pretty fresh. I don't know anything about it. We kind of have a potential list of shows we're going to pick from to see what we want to watch, and after Evangelion, which we lost last time, I said, you know what, this series looks like it's going to be the polar fucking opposite, so let's pick it, let's see what happens. And yeah, that's pretty much all I know. I hope it's going to be funny, maybe. It looks like it's got some slice of life kind of cutesy stuff from the posters and the character designs I've seen, so hoping there's some good comedy. I'm gonna assume there's gonna be some maybe little sexy fun times in the show. We might see a few things. I don't know from who or what context, but yeah, maybe it'll be a hot, steamy experience, if you know what I'm saying.
All right. Well, we're going to get started then. The current time is 8:36, so we will see you in a while.
See you in a while.
Alright, so welcome back to Sleep Deprived Anime. It's currently 4:19 a.m. And we just finished Rascal. So, Avram, how do you feel?
Well, I feel many emotions. I was not expecting to feel many emotions. I started this series for the Bunny Girls. I grew a big heart for not just the Bunny Girls, but everyone in this series. That heart then got ripped out of my fucking body and stomped on and left to the curb. And I thought that was gonna lay, but then at the end, it was starting to kind of pulse back to life a bit. So it was a roller coaster of emotions, but actually quite a fantastic series. I was not expecting it to be as encompassing as it was, and to be as deep as it was sometimes. But I'm very happy it went there. Very happy it went there.
Nice, yeah, I would definitely say it was popular when it came out, but then nobody talks about it anymore, and it's like one of my favorite series. And I'm glad that you said you wanted to watch it, because I wanted to rewatch it again. But obviously, most important question, you've told me this, but why don't you tell the listeners who's best girl?
Kinda, 100%. Like, just the coolest character. Very tragic backstory. At least for me, I was not expecting it. All these other characters, man, are they have things going on. They have their own character realms. So Kaida does, nothing wrong. Just hangs out, wakes up, likes pandas, chilling in the PJs. I can't blame her for that, trying to be a good sister, good siblings. When you're trying to be nice, I feel that. You're trying to be great, and mainly just, she doesn't cause any bullshit in the series. And I was very surprised when they started to get into the backstory, because I hate it when, writers have these great, lovable characters and give them these shitty backstories that they don't deserve. And you're like, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for making this character so happy, and they have so much pain hiding underneath it all. I appreciate that a lot. But no, 100% out of all the characters, she was my favorite. Actually, probably of the series, just very, hopeful, and even kind of once her arc gets resolved, she's a different character, but still a very likable character, and one that I was happy was shown, which I didn't think I was going to be when it got revealed at first.
Fair.
Yeah.
So, because this series, I found out about it, I heard about it, but I never really looked into it. And then when I was in Japan, there was genuinely like posters up, like
Oh, wow.
as I was walking down the street, and I was like, man, I need to watch this. And like Rojan, who I was with, he kept like hyping it up. He's like, yeah, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. And I was like, well, have you watched it? And he's like, no, but I've heard it's so good. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what, fine, I'll watch it when I get home, right?
Yeah.
So I got home, and like the next day, I was like, okay, I need to watch this series. So like I sat down, and after Rojan hyped it up, after all the posters and like just seeing it, I was like, oh my god, this is like gonna be so good. I was so excited. My hopes were like so high.
Yeah.
And then when I first watched it, I was honestly like disappointed because I was so hyped up for it. And then like it's like several other series, but like it took a little while, and then I'm like, you know what, that was so good.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was still really,
Well,
really good.
It's like a weird hype because you don't really know what you're hyped up for.
Exactly, yeah. Like
You
it was
know?
such a weird experience, but like it was a good one when I watched it. Finally got to watch it. It was it was something, and the whole thing takes place in Fujisawa, which is in Japan, and that's where I want to move when I'm older. That's the place.
The dream.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
dream.
I want to be right across from Enoshima. We went on a great hike
That's
right
awesome.
through there, and it's such a beautiful place. And the train they're on, been on that train,
Oh, it's super.
and that road that he was running down, been on.
Oh, that's fucking
I was
crazy.
running down that road.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like so. I guess it really resonated with me because
Yeah.
like that was honestly my favorite place I went on the trip. Like
Yeah.
you know, Kyoto was great and all that, but like Fujisawa just stuck with me, man. And
Yeah.
I've been like everywhere pretty much that there. Like I haven't been to the school obviously, but like most of the
That's
other
really
places
cool
I was there,
that you
and I was
actually,
like,
been there.
so I had a physical connection with it, and like yeah, it was great. But I guess kind of going back to you,
Yeah,
like
sure.
go deeper, I guess, into your overall thoughts and like
Well,
how
it
you
was-
feel compared to what
was-
you said in the opening
it
of
was
like
funny.
sexy times
It was
and all that.
funny because like as you were saying, like we're coming at, or at least we watched this series I guess at very different points. I fucking known absolutely nothing about this series getting into it, and I found actually because of that the mystery and kind of supernatural elements of the show took me by surprise and got me pretty intrigued fast. I didn't really expect there to be a deeper, more enticing kind of story. I really did think this was gonna be like some fucking Monster Musume shit, like just some like crazy fucking like borderline hentai shit. So I'm happy that there was some actual interesting elements to the story, and it kind of as the story progresses, like it kind of delves in this, or starts to delve really into these themes of asking questions with no real right answer, and a lot of the characters are kind of given these choices where there's no real right or wrong way to do something, and in both ways you're gonna have positives and negatives, and it's very like realistic to life, but also it just creates really enticing storylines where you can have these results where no matter what happens, good and bad will occur, and I think that's why it started to really like tear me apart at the end, is because I know no matter what was gonna happen, it wasn't gonna be completely happy with with it all. Like there was gonna be some character or elements where I was gonna be kind of bummed out because someone's either gonna die or gonna change or whatever. So yeah, and with the romance thing, I was happy with this story because every character in it is genuine and feels like a real person. It's funny. I think a lot of Western media, especially recently, I'd say probably in the last especially 10-15 years, has really focused on creating characters sometimes that want to do good but are really jaded to some degree. A lot of people feel like they need to have this kind of grit or this edge to them to make them interesting and to make them a well-written character, when you really don't. What's the main character of this name's again?
Sakata.
Sakata, yeah. I'm always fucking shit when I'm, watching an anime for 8 hours at a time and having to talk afterwards, like all fucking sleep deprived. But yeah, Sakata, genuinely throughout the entire series, just wants to do well. And he doesn't really flaunt it. He doesn't really be egotistical with it. He's genuinely selfless, and I think a lot of people, especially a lot of writers, think that that's not like big enough grab nowadays for their stories when really it is. You know, who doesn't want to see a story with someone trying their best? That's kind of what we're all trying to do. So that was really a nice thing for me to see, and it was interesting to see it. Like, I think there's so many romance shows that are like, again, filmed in, like, especially Canada and the States, a lot of movies where there's a huge element of drama that's kind of imposed with all the romance, and they think like it's needed to make it interesting, which it's not. Give me good characters, give me good writing, give me characters that feel real, give me characters that feel like they want to be together, and I'll grow to like them. And that's kind of what this series proved to me. And it's funny because I never really thought I could get into these more romancy things. At least like my personal anime tastes and personal manga tastes they're much more in line with like Attack on Titan and Berserk, big over the top kind of action series. So I never really thought I could get into more of the romance stuff, but or stuff dealing with romance. But when they're written like this, it's surprisingly easy for me to get into them and to care. And by episode 3, I was hooked. I was ready. I was like, I want to see how this ends. So I'm really surprised that it turned out that way, and happy it did for sure. It's kind of enticing me more to watch some series that I probably would have, looked at first and just passed away. So it's nice.
yeah, it's good to get you out of your comfort zone, which is what I'm trying with some of these. But like, one thing that you were mentioning about the romance too is like, some outsiders might look at this and be like, oh, it's just another stupid harem anime, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 characters out of all the girls in it who are like actually interested in the MC. Like, the rest of them could not care less about him, right? Like, it's just Mai and then Koga, right? Like, it's just the 2 of them. Futaba likes the other guy, and the sister doesn't like him at all. She hates him.
And like Mai and Koga too, like, they have both in the series been given a lot of time, been given good character development. They're fleshed out. They feel really real, which I think is another thing that like I think a lot of stereotypical harem kind of anime, they tend to have quantity over quality for characters and who's involved. Yeah. And this proved to me that you really don't need it.
Yeah.
Like, you have a small cast, have great characters, and the story will carry itself.
Yeah.
Which I really found with this series and really liked. And that was one thing too with the pacing with this series that really shocked me. For 13 episodes in a film, you get a pretty intricate story, especially with the supernatural elements going on, and the whole puberty syndrome and how it plays in. On top of the love story, on top of the all these different characters interacting, it all very coherently fit together well, and the pacing was really well done. There was never an episode where I was like, oh man, this is dragging on for too long, or oh, I want to skip this scene, or they could have shortened this scene or made this scene longer. Everything felt really, really natural, which was nice.
Yeah, that kind of segues pretty well into my next point, but like you were saying with all the puberty syndrome stuff, like, how did you feel following like the quantum physics with that? Like, was it a bit much at points, or was it pretty easy to follow, surprisingly, considering what it is?
The techno jargon with the quantum physics and stuff.
Quantum
I was like,
entanglement and Schrodinger and Laplace and all that.
In the beginning, I was like, okay, hopefully they don't go too heavy into the fucking terms, because if we're watching this for a long time, I was like, I'm gonna lose track of where I'm at. But thankfully, everything was pretty concise to follow, especially the kind of bigger time loops that it was dealing with and how they were presented. I was really surprised actually with how easy it was for me to follow, and I'm someone who I'm very picky with how especially time manipulation works in series. I think usually it's a cop-out. I think a lot of people do it to, rewrite choices they made or bring back characters. So when anything like that's introduced, and at least media for me, I need it to kind of be thought out and concise, and for it to make sense, which thankfully this series did. And it was a big reason of why I like it. And I'm kind of happy that it took some funkier, wackier risks in what it wanted to do instead of playing it safe. And I think that's why it has, like you said, it's not a huge following, but the following for it is still pretty strong. And people, I hear people talk about it. Yeah. You might not, but I hear people recommend it to me still.
Yeah.
Which, you can't say a lot, I think, for a lot of those, romance
Because, like, it's...
Run off
a lot of
romance
people just
shows,
kind of
right?
brush it off, like, not just as a harem, but, like, oh, it's just another seasonal waifu series, right? Like,
Yeah.
which a lot of people ignore anyway, right? Like, you have
Yeah.
to be in the right, like, group of that anime watchers to be like, oh, this is the new waifu series of the season, right?
Especially if you find, like, the quality
follow it
ones.
one by one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like, and it's just kind of, they're kind of just brushed off as the, oh, it's just the filler of the season, right? Like, you always got, like, your big AOT series, you got, like, your big shonen series, you got this, and this, and, like, it always just kind of, like, oh, at the bottom you got your trashy isekais and your trashy waifu
and
simulators,
your trashy slice of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So
your kind of B grade
yeah,
daily anime is thrown in there, which sometimes you find some gems. Totally. It's funny because you're saying how the fan base is dead. Well, the fan base has gained a new member with me because I will be invested in. Hopefully, they'll do a second season or a new movie continuation of some sort. And if not, I'll definitely have to pick up the manga because, I'm intrigued, I'm enticed, I'm roped, I'm hooked in.
Well, you can't get the manga because there's only a manga for the first two, at least released in English. In Japanese, there's only half of Futaba's arc, which is released. It's a light novel, so you'd want to get those, but
wow!
Yeah, like it's weird. It's really really whack.
Strange.
But like the weird thing with that is I've only read because we watched volumes 1 to 7 of the light novel, right?
Yeah.
And I've only read up to 7. Like, I cannot for the life of me find anything past that translated.
Huh.
And 1 to 7 are the only ones that are, like, physically released in English. So, you know, if anyone's watching this and can hit me up with the link, I would totally be down.
Please be the plug, please.
Yeah, but exactly. Like, I would love to read it, but I genuinely have no idea what happens next. And I'm trying to stay away from spoilers because, like, I want to experience it, like, firsthand. But, like, at this point, I'm straight up just waiting for the next volume, which comes out in, like, 5 months or something like that. I have it pre-ordered, so, like, it'll show up.
Fantastic.
But, you know.
Cool.
I'm clueless, so.
Yeah, and I think, like, what I'm excited for to see how this series pans out is that it kind of progressively, as it went through, got more and more touching for me and got more and more emotional. I actually felt for these characters, and that's pretty rare for me to say after a 10-episode series. You know, there's very few series that I can think of that are short where I genuinely care about the characters. The only thing I can think of recently that I watched that was relative to kind of the same thing is, funny enough, came out in the same year, was Devilman Crybaby. The end of that series, it's a very short show, but again, every character I cared for and I wanted to see, you know, either good things happen to them, or if they're shitty, I want to see fucking bad things happen to them, right? And it's nice when you can have a show that does that. It makes me kind of remember that with the good writers and a good script and, you know, a actual clear plan, it doesn't really matter how long it is. It doesn't matter how much time you're spending in the world. It can still grab you and still impact you in a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like, and all the memes I keep showing you of, like, oh, I'm starting it for the bunny girls, and then you end out with it, like, with your heart broken, and it's like, that's not what I was expecting. Like, it's called, the season is called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, but that's really only the first book. The rest of them have, like, names based on their arcs, but, like, she's in a bunny costume for, like, total of 10 minutes of series.
Okay, little detour here. I thought the fucking bunny costume, right, was gonna be a big deal. I thought that was gonna be some fucking symbolism shit, which, I mean, it kind of is towards the end. It comes a little full circle.
Yeah.
But I thought it was gonna be a mainline fucking thing. I thought this chick would be fucking... I thought May was gonna be wearing this fucking, like, costume 24/7. And I see it for, like, fucking 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time, it's pretty much in a fucking bag. Just sitting there, you know? And I was like, huh, interesting choice.
Yeah, they bring it up, but, like, they just don't ever show it. It's just kind of, it's a plot point, you know? It's there.
Yeah. It's like enticing. Maybe, like, the finale, you know? We'll have, like, full bunny costume.
Yeah, every single character in a full bunny costume, you know, including Sakata.
Yeah, we get
just everyone, yeah.
We get everybody, yeah.
The dad, just every single character, just the whole book wearing their bunny costumes.
Yeah, they all have theme costumes as themselves. They actually cosplay as themselves,
Yeah.
but bunny versions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're breaking the fourth wall.
Like, I know how excited you'd be if it turned to, like, a pseudo-furry story, you know?
No. 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 On that note, let's move on. So
Let's move on, yes.
So the Japanese title for it is like goes by Seishun Butiyaro, which is like basically just the translation of like Rascal Does Not Dream sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just like follows by like whatever the title is.
Yeah.
But Rascal, fun fact, in Japanese translates to like youth bastard or like pig bastard, teenage bastard, like some sort of translation like that, right?
Oh, okay.
And this one time I was with my dog.
Yeah.
And my stepmother was like, she called her a rascal, and so I was like, you know that Japanese rascal translates to youth bastard, right? And she's like, okay, interesting. And so I look at my dog and go, who's a good youth bastard? And then I got yelled at. But no.
It's funny too, because like when you say that, I'm like, oh, that's like surprisingly fitting for the show.
Yeah, well, like that's the whole thing.
Right?
It's the subtitling doesn't really do it justice, I guess, kind of, because like it's always like, oh, you're such a rascal.
Yeah.
But it's like in English, that's just kind of like a, gosh golly gee, such a rascal.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
but like it's like it has a much bigger connotation in Japanese, right? Like it's more paired with like the pervert side of it, right? Like.
Yeah, like
which is why they keep bringing it up.
Fucking
yeah.
weird, which he is. Step on my feet, please.
Yeah.
Just step on them one more time.
He likes being abused. But hey, most people who are watching this series, I feel might agree.
Who doesn't, man? Who doesn't every once in a while, you know? Like a little bit of rough foreplay. Who doesn't?
Yeah. Well, this is probably going to be a much shorter episode than Ava, because there's about half of the time to unpack.
It's a little more concise. It's I'd say it's much easier to follow than Ava.
Yeah.
We're recording this at a much better hour in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm not currently losing my mind over all the religious imagery.
Yeah.
And crazy symbolism and deep character exploration that we got in Ava, so a little more put together for this one.
But yeah, so I guess let's close it off with your final thoughts, and then give it a rating out of 10 bunny suits.
Ooh, okay. Final thoughts. Very surprised with this series. Very happy that I watched it. Well crafted, well made. The animation was really well done. I was actually really surprised with a lot of the backgrounds in the series. Looked quite well. Everything was very, very polished. I didn't really see anything, at least from my first viewing, of like janky animation or, weird sound inputs or anything. Everything worked really well. The mystery aspect of this series really took me by surprise. I loved it. I thought all the voice acting was actually really great in this series too, especially getting into the last few episodes and like the second half of the film. I almost fucking cried, and I don't really cry much in media. It really was touching. It was emotional, and it was done very like beautifully well. And I'm also happy that at least with this movie, they gave it a semi-hopeful, positive ending.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of media nowadays feels like it has to end on this nihilistic kind of point, which it works for some series when it works with the theming.
Gets a little overplayed at times too.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy that there's series out there, and there's more series out there that are trying to entice people to look at the good of the world and the people around us, and try to promote these messages of, if you try enough and you put good energy out there, you might get good energy in return. And I think I need to stop underestimating some of these more slice-of-life drama-esque series, because this one was really well done. I'm really, really happy I watched it, and I hope I can find some more surprising series like this in the future. It's always great when you get something that comes out, and you're expecting a lot of fucking garbage, and it turns out to shock you. So if we're giving this a rating out of 10, I'm going to give this series a solid 7 bunny suits out of 10. At least in my first viewing, I think it might actually go up as a rewatch. And I think even though I might sound like a 7 is low, that is not low. I recommend it. People, please go and watch it. And I'm hoping that this can just end with a bang, end on its feet, and yeah, make me cry, because it's turned out to be a very fantastic, moving, touching series. So
Nice. Just before I do my closing statement, I would like to formally apologize to you, Avram, and the whole internet for almost spoiling the end of Attack on Titan while we watched this.
so yeah,
That was
that we've got
an
the
interesting
review done,
time.
I'm gonna say here, I have not read the Attack on Titan manga, but Attack on Titan, I'm gonna be that fucking guy here and say that it is not just my favorite anime series, but probably my favorite series of all time. The writing is fantastic. It blows my fucking mind every episode. And yeah, we're sitting there and I make an Attack on Titan joke. And I hear this awkward pause and I look over and I'm like, you good? You good? And I was then, very, very politely informed by Obsidian here that he almost spoiled the entire ending of Attack on Titan, and I almost lost my shit and committed some very heinous crimes that could not be re-uttered on this podcast. So thankfully it was not spoiled for
Yes,
me.
I was able to stop myself, but it was so close. So I
Not,
apologize.
if there was a spoiler, just so you guys know, future listeners, if you guys are listening on newer episodes, if I come into a podcast sounding particularly quite heated, quite angry, I might be, inhaling a little more forceful with my words. There may have been a Freudian slip, and the
Yes.
Attack on Titan ending may or may not get spoiled for me in the future. That is to be seen, we'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for listening, you guys. Thank you, Avram, for joining me again today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
For sure, it's glad to have you on. You're one of the only ones who will actually watch most of the anime. I have a few hand-selected picks for, singular ones, but I can get you for the bulk of it. So,
Nice.
expect to see more of Avram if we keep doing this podcast. So yeah, see you guys next time for more Obsidian Talks.
Thank you. Have a good one.